When this model was first released in 2015 by Herpa Wings, I did not buy it, but then in late 2022 I was so lucky to find it at a very reasonable price second hand, and while it was probably still more expensive than the original asking price from Herpa Wings, I just couldn't pass on it. But was the money well spent on this colorful bird? You'll find out right after the drop. And with that, hello and welcome to an episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a Boeing 777-300ER of Turkish Airlines. At the front of the box we have a cutout so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and on top of the box we have the Turkish Airlines branding. Then this aircraft model is of course still from a time where Herpa halfway cared about their box design, so we have a lovely image of the aircraft in real life, and then any additional information you would want to have about this model is provided via a web link, which however does not work anymore. And here she is, the Boeing 777-300ER of Turkish Airlines in this special Istanbul-San Francisco livery. As mentioned, this model was made by Herpa Wings in 2015. The aircraft in real life did carry this livery for a little over a year, from around March 2014 till around August 2015. So although the aircraft of course does not fly around like this anymore, the aircraft in real life as well as the model is just an incredible eye-catcher. So I would say that it is about time that we in 2023 take a closer look at it to see if it is still worth our money and time. And as always, we do so by starting our tour around the aircraft model with a look at the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer find the Turkish Airlines branding. On the fuselage we then have the aircraft type specification and the full registration code, and don't worry, we will take a closer look at the design here later. Then at the very tail of the aircraft we also find a bit of detailing around the APU exhaust. Now the model was of course released long before Herpa started adding any additional details, so don't expect any static ports or sensors here, but we still find a few details around the front section of the fuselage. For example, the Turkish Airlines branding and the Turkish flag. Underneath that we then have the writing of Istanbul and San Francisco. We also find the Boeing logo, we have the Star Alliance logo of which the airline is a full member, and underneath that the name of the aircraft. The cockpit section itself is maybe a little bit bland. I mean, we only have the cockpit windows and the window wipers, but that is the standard from Herpa Wings even to this day. And the lack of printed details, well, that story is continued on the engine nacelles, which have been kept in all white. At least we do have the silver leading edge printed on, but that's also the only printed detail you'll find here. Then something that this model suffers from, but actually all 777s from Herpa Wings, is the fact that the engines are not shaped correctly. The GE90 engines are a little bit longer than what Herpa does with their models, but they do still look alright. When we look at the physical detailing overall, I think Herpa is still doing a decent job, but one day hopefully they will stretch these engines just a tiny little bit so they are correctly shaped. Then on the fuselage, just above the wings, we have the emergency exit printed on, which leads us to the wings, which we should also take a closer look at, starting off with the top side, where we have the different flaps, slats and spoilers carved out very nicely. We have the full registration code of the aircraft, the markings for the emergency exits, and then we have this thick black line, which is marking the outer edges of the main landing gear. On the underside of the wings, we then find more physical detailing and the full registration code of the aircraft. And speaking about the main landing gear, well, we can also take a closer look at that. That is the standard landing gear that Herpa uses for all their 777s, which is overall I think pretty alright looking. The same thing goes for the front landing gear. The only thing here I'm really missing are some printed details, as usual. Then on the belly of the aircraft we have the Turkish Airlines branding printed on, but unfortunately this has been slightly destroyed by a hole in the fuselage for a stand which is not included with this aircraft model, making it rather pointless. What a shame that they have to destroy printed details for that. Then last but not least, we do also have the doors to the cargo compartments, although they almost disappear in this wonderful design here at the back of the aircraft and a bit more visible here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 777-300ER of Turkish Airlines in the special Istanbul-San Francisco livery from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? Now, given that the aircraft model was released in 2015, there is of course a huge lack of detailing when it comes to, well, details of the actual aircraft. So static ports, sensors, safety markings, stuff like that. Of course, we shouldn't judge a model from 2015 with the standards of 2023, but you should just be aware that you shouldn't be expecting any really awesome details on this aircraft model. The main reason to buy this model today, as it probably was in 2015, is simply the spectacular livery, which of course is mainly focused around the tail of the aircraft. Now, it's for sure not the easiest design to replicate in Scale 500, as there are so many details included in it. Now, I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to print stuff, but one of the basic techniques is to add tiny droplets of color, and basically by adding a lot of droplets next to each other, you get an image. And this is basically what we also see here. Now, I have seen other prints on models where it is not as visible as here, but it has also to be said that you have to get really close to actually notice it, because as soon as we get just a little bit more distance, you see the droplets basically fade away and you barely notice it, if at all. So this is definitely not a critique, I'm just pointing it out. In fact, I'm actually really impressed with the print quality on this aircraft model and how Herpa has managed to recreate this very elaborate livery. And since I also can't critique anything when it comes to the physical detailing of this aircraft model, which I think is also overall pretty good, except maybe for the engines as I mentioned, well, I think this is a lovely model. Yes, of course, you will still not be buying it because of the amount of details of the aircraft itself. It is still a model that you mainly will be buying, I assume at least, because of the livery. But that's not a bad thing, especially not when it has been recreated as well as in this case from Herpa Wings. And on that positive note, it is time to end today's episode. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like, and of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, hope to see you soon again, I'm checking out, and bye.